is not only for members of parliament, but people don't know this. They are almost equal numbers with this welfare of staff. I am very sensitive to all the institution, both the staff, the support staff, the members of parliament, their support teams, because these MPs have drivers. Some of them have security. So I will make sure that we shall have standard operation procedure and a welfare program that is within the affordability of the resource envelope of the parliament budget. So I am not going to discriminate, but I'm going to be mindful of every cadre that serves parliament. I'm not going to be discriminative at all. And this one, they know that I have that capacity because I've been leading agencies, including very volatile agencies. I mean, if I ran a mission that in Somalia that was bullets and bombs were flying over us, but I was able to manage the welfare of the troops. What about this one where there is no war? So for me, I'm tested. Even in the most complex situations, I rise and I'm able to manage. So this is a job I can do without any doubt. With excellence, actually.
All right. But on the welfare of MPs, and I want to follow you up there a little bit, there is an issue of the emoluments, what the MPs are paid. It's a concern to members of the public. And I want to point to you one particular issue that is coming very soon. The money that you're going to receive as MPs to buy new cars. Some of you already have cars. And members of the public actually think that Parliament has become too much. Even the budget of Parliament has kept on rising. It's an issue of welfare, we are told. As a speaker, if you're elected as Speaker of Parliament, how do you balance that?
We will revisit the welfare of MPs, but people must know that the numbers of Parliament and staff, let me add staff, because staff also have their package. Parliament cannot stand alone with the MPs, they also stand with staff. So the budget, when you see it big, it is covering both the staff and members of Parliament. Now, when you reach the rank of director at Parliament, like it is in the ministries, you get a vehicle, or a four-wheel drive vehicle. Now, you do not expect a member. So if the best thing you can do is, if you want to compare, you can check with the prices of four-wheel drive vehicles, which are given to directors in the ministries or PSCs, but also Parliament directors. Then you will know that transport is very important for a member of Parliament. I might have my vehicle as a member of Parliament, but I have to be facilitated to go to Mbale or even have an office in Mbale where a vehicle is used to do parliamentary work. I cannot convene parish meetings or village meetings to give people what is happening in Parliament, and I'm using my personal car when I have a 5-year contract to serve, and the taxpayers are obliged to facilitate that. That one will not change, it has to happen. But we can look at, we should be mindful of opulence. I've said this earlier. We should be mindful of extravagancy, or what we call wastefulness, so that whatever we deploy is value for money. That's why I can comfortably account, because I can account for value for money. Yes. Yes.
What would you describe as opulence in the context of Parliament?
Opulence is when you have so much excess than what you need. And it's not only Parliament, but because Parliament should be the mirror of accountability, it should be the mirror of resource management, it should be the mirror. So if the budget of Parliament is 1.2 trillion, like you've heard those people who are in the 11th Parliament are telling us, it has to be unpacked and see whether or not every coin of taxpayers' money is being put to value for money. I've been trying to find out why the cost of renting offices of Parliament is too high. That's an area you can visit, but I'm not yet there, because then we would see if we can reduce the cost or negotiate or indeed expedite the construction of that extended chambers because it has taken long. I passed there and I keep asking myself, why is this construction taking too long? Because the absence of extra space at Parliament causes the institution to the parliamentary commission to rent offices. Even me now, I've been asking myself, so if this extended structure is not completed, it means those of us who are new, 529, they are going to now take us to areas that are rented around the building. So those are some of the things we want to see, that we can be frugal with the resources of the institution. Yes.
All right. Let's now go to raise the bar in Parliament, to raise the standards in Parliament. What exactly is wrong that you think, as Honorable Lydia Wanyoto, through your leadership, you're going to change in this House? What do you want to do? What kind of Parliament do
you see, we want to draw key indicators, progressive indicators, so that you are able to cause me to account on particular benchmarks and points. Inside the House Parliament, what are the expectations of the people? So we must have that conversation. The president, in the speech of the last year, I don't know whether you were there at Kololo, he said he's frustrated, there's corruption, and he had proved, he used to hear rumors, he had proved that there was corruption in Parliament. We must sit as Youth Parliament to find ways of bringing back that trust to the executive, that when the policy statements come, when the budget cycles come, nobody will worry about smuggling votes and budgets.
What do you mean smuggling?
That's what we were told. Where have you been? Do you live in Uganda? There was budget corruption. People members of Parliament got arrested. Are you not aware? If you answer, I'm talking to you.
They were later exonerated.
Yeah, but when they
were arrested.
So we must begin from a note of being accountable, because we must maintain the trust. I got a lot of votes from Umbale State. You are supposed to be my friend, but you didn't follow up. You didn't even give me some support money for campaigns. You can Lukwago. But the people of Umbale City, they voted me over. I cannot, let me repeat, I cannot let them down. I'm going to make sure that I make my contribution and that service delivery happens. When we do appropriation, we shall track the budget until the money reaches the beneficiaries for infrastructure, for development, for the soft and hardware. Because we do money for social programs, lifting the lives of the people straight, but also money for infrastructure. So the hard, roads, water, I don't know what, hospitals, but also the soft. The parish model money for circles for the women, it must, and the youth, it must reach them. And I will burn the midnight candle to make sure that when the documents come to Parliament, I am knowledgeable, I am alert, and align what the people deserve. Service delivery must happen in the next 5 years. Whatever resources we get, it should happen. There should be no leakages. But you cannot do that if you don't have KPIs.
What is that?
We must have indicators. You cannot just say, I'm going to be an MP for 5 years. We must know how many kilometers of roads we are going to construct in Uganda and deploy them in different regions of the country. How many bridges are we going to construct in Uganda? How many water sources are we going to cover? Where are the gaps? Where are the poverty? You know, Uganda has a poverty map. Where is the poverty map of Uganda? How can we lift people from being poor, and where are they, and why are they poor? We must answer those questions and then have a scorecard every year to say we moved this country from point A on road tarmac up to here. We moved the bridges from here, electricity coverage, water coverage, and every one of us should go on radios in our villages and sing that song with certainty, because we've been voted to serve people. We must get away and check our colleagues who think they've come to parliament for opulence. Parliament of Uganda, this is a poor economy. How do you afford the opulence? You're in the wrong place.
What do you mean opulence? I don't. You're speaking in tongues. So many things.
There are no tongues where I'm speaking. I'm being very clear because I'm speaking about my anticipations of the 12th Parliament.
Who came for opulence in Parliament?
No, there are those mindsets, and we are saying this. We are setting standards. You understand me? We are setting standards for the 12th Parliament that we should not allow you not to do your work at Parliament because you are looking for deals to achieve what you didn't achieve in your childhood. Why you never achieved at Radio 1? Because some of the journalists are coming to Parliament.
Interesting.
So those are the things. I'm going to be a very sharp eye on accountability. Yes. Yeah. And I really hope that I'll get the support of the people. Because sometimes you go there, people are celebrating corruption. People adore corruption. So what do we do now? We must move and talk the same language.
And you think
now that I have won an election, because you see, oversight. My friend, I just in the beginning of this talk show, I talked about 3 key roles, mandates of Parliament: oversight, budget appropriation, and writing laws, legislation. And I'm talking about the 12th Parliament. If we do not set standards on what we want to do, then we shall not be measured against anything. We must say, like now, for me, people should know that this woman has won. She's going to Parliament. We are going to measure her against this. It's like an exam. So you keep ticking the boxes. Here you've got 60%. This one you're on 0. Oh, like that. We should do that. Otherwise, even just attendance becomes a problem. Are you aware that sometimes we don't have a quorum? Do you think that's a good thing? We are 529. How can you not have a quorum of even 200 people?
What do you think is the problem there?
It is the reason why people came to Parliament. We must realign. I don't know if they're getting my point. You're saying I'm speaking, but you see, it's one thing to elect you. Another thing when you come to say, guy, you are here, but these are the issues.
That has to be with the person who is in the office of the Speaker, having quorum in the House, or it's a mindset of the people that are Ugandan.
It is collective responsibility because we are in a multi-party dispensation. And why we stand an advantage as NRM to mobilize ourselves is that we are the majority. But all other political parties, whether it is FDC, whether it is DP, whether it's NUP, they have members of Parliament. So there must be a close relationship between the political parties that sponsor these people and how they are performing in the House. But you can see in the past, I don't think whether that relationship is very strong. Because what we see and what people don't want to hear is more or less an empty house. You call a house and the whips have not been able to mobilize people for the Speaker to run the House, and you find that there are 30, 40 people. That's not representation. Right. And you know that.
Now, one of the things that Parliament has struggled with, in line with its your strategic plan, where they say there must be a people-centered Parliament, is people having questions about how Parliament does its work, the failure to focus on some key issues, and the different leaders of the House have tried to do what they call taking Parliament to the people. During Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga's time, there was that effort. We have seen Anita Mong also trying to do that. How do you make Parliament a people-centered house, Honorable Lydia Wanyoto? What do you intend to do differently?
Just one
from what
word.
Your colleagues have done?
Just one word. Let us commit to every budget cycle service delivery, and we track service delivery. There is nothing else, because people want services. That is it. We want a functional health center in the village, have a school running, let the teachers be paid, let the workers, health workers work, let the roads be passable, let the bridges be fixed. Wananchi do not want much from us. They just want service delivery.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90, a regular listener sent me a message in my inbox and said, is she really serious? Maybe we should begin from there. The people who think that many of you come up, you announce that you're going to run for this particular office, and then when things heat up, you suddenly withdraw or go to the other side and say, my political party has decided that I should not be running for this particular position. Honorable Lydia Wanyoto, are you serious? Are you in this race
maybe
to the end?
Your friend who talked to you, can you give an example when I was not serious? Because also he can justify to say, you know, she was contesting in Mbale, then she jumped out, or she went to contest for the South African Parliament. Maybe she jumped out along the way, because every context has its own pressure and demands. But I've been able to run my race to the end. The moment I say I'm going to do this, I'm going to contest for this office, I do that. It doesn't matter whether I win or not. I conclude, I go through the process. So similarly, I'm contesting for the Speaker of the National Parliament, the 12th Parliament of Uganda. And this Parliament commences in May. It's on the premise that I was able to win the seat of Member of Parliament from Bali State, and that's what qualifies me, because you have to be an MP to be to contest for speakership. So I didn't do it myself at a personal level. I was urged, encouraged, and endorsed by the leaders and the community of Mbale City. So actually the endorsement happened in Mbale, and I told them I'm going to put up the application and give it my best shot. And I want to welcome all the other competitors. I think so far we are making 6. I welcome them to the race. Speakership has rules of procedure. It's a job of high decorum. The head of one of the arms of government, a respectable responsibility, and you provide leadership for legislation, appropriation of the country's budget, but also representation. So we have to lift the bar. Yes, we have to lift the bar. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Uganda, a diplomat, and also a security expert. So with relatively wide experience to be able to steer the house to the right direction, but also to give it the standards it deserves. So that's where we are now.
All right. Like you said, you're about 6, and more maybe are likely to come up.
Yeah, it's open. We are 529 members of parliament, and any one of us can pick nomination forms. Yes.
And out of all those people, why should it be Honorable Lydia Wanyoto to become the Speaker of the 12th Parliament?
First of all, I qualify. The rules are clear. Secondly, I'm willing to serve. And then thirdly, I have the competencies. People know me. I've grown capacity. I'm an expert in governance. I am Parliament of Uganda is not a standalone legislature. Is a member of the Commonwealth systems. I have diplomatic credentials, international relations. So I'm good to go. When I look around, those who have so far expressed interest, I think I stand a very good chance. 100%. I'm a cadre par excellence. I'm a patriot of our country, and I think I'm well prepared to run this office in the 12th Parliament. Yeah. Yes.
Right. You say you are a cadre. You belong to the National Resistance Movement political party,
yes,
where you've served not
32 years.
For 32 years.
Yes.
And not
because I joined in 1994.
1994. In
the movement secretariat. Then we went and formed the party. I'm a founding member of the NRM party in 2005 after the referendum. So you cannot catch anybody with that CV. They are not there. Others are 4 months old. Others are 1 year old in the party. Those who are in the NRM. But of course I want to respect that's their right. Even if you have joined the party today, you can contest. And also those who are not in the party, they are senior, but they will still their story. This is my story.
This is your story.
Yes,
indeed. Now one particular challenge you're going to meet, according to what people have been saying, is the fact that your political party has rules and it has taken positions in the past. And from what we have heard, the Central Executive Committee, where you served when you were chairperson of the Women's League, has already taken a decision that it will be Honorable Anita Among with Thomas Tayebwa to continue leading the Parliament of Uganda. According to your political party, this is an assignment which is being passed on to them, and in line with your discipline and internal mechanisms, that people are allowed to serve in that particular office for 2 terms.
Thank you. I've been able to I was away in Addis for preparation of the summit when this issue of SEC endorsement came up, and when I returned, I was able to process inquiry, and I found out that that alleged endorsement was not there. Why? We've not seen any resolution. No, I was a member of the SEC for 10 years, and for 5 years I was a technical staff writing minutes and following up SEC. So I've sat in SEC for many years, so I know what happens. A matter comes on the agenda. There was no matter on the agenda for SEC. It was not there. Nobody can show you the agenda. Number 2, there was no resolution. Normally, the resolution is signed off by Secretary General and the Chairman when the meeting has happened, and they delegate either the Director of Communication or the Secretary General himself reads the resolutions. Or if there is a matter for Parliament and the agenda was brought to the SEC by the Chief Whip, it's the Chief Whip now who comes and reads the resolutions. Nothing like that has happened. So then that's on the issue of whether SEC sat or not. Now, the normal procedures which we have been holding many times, time immemorial. The challenge people will have with me is I'm the institutional memory of the party at some point. Because in 2005, when I'm a founding member of the party, I was part of the people that wrote the party constitution. It is like at the back of my palm, I know it. I also was on the team that wrote the rules of procedure of the organ of Parliament. Parliament has a parliamentary caucus, and that is an organ of the House. But we wrote rules of procedure for it. So the rules of procedure for the NRM caucus are that when you have had an election like we did, you wait for the members to be gazetted. That has not happened. So from the word go, you Kenneth Lukwago, what were you gazetting? I mean, what were you endorsing? You cannot endorse what is not there. Members of Parliament must be gazetted. It is the gazette. The gazette is the legal tool that qualifies somebody to be a member of Parliament. Even as I speak today, it's good you have called me. It is only the presidential and woman member of Parliament who are gazetted. We are still waiting for the directly elected MPs and the SIGs, the special interest groups. They have not been gazetted. So why are people in a hurry? Even that this behavior is suspect. Actually, we should disqualify people who want to stampede us. That's not the methods of work of the NRM. NRM is methodical, and we know what happens. So that already that also makes it very illegitimate already. You cannot talk and discuss people who are not yet gazetted. Why are you in a hurry? Secondly, when that has happened, when the gazetting has happened, we are supposed to go for orientation to we normally go to Chankwanzi. Chankwanzi has not happened. These things happen after Chankwanzi. You go because we have over 60% attrition. So these people you are telling endorsements, doing stories of endorsement, what are they endorsing? Because they don't have any briefing notes. And that the president told us, of course, Chankwanzi is going to happen. Because we asked, how come you're doing things before Chankwanzi? We got Chankwanzi to know each other, to be trained, to be oriented, and to be prepared, to know the manifesto, to know our expectations in the next 5 years as a party who has cadres. This has not happened in Rukwago. So what was SEC endorsing?
But I would also
no, let me finish. So it is after, so I'm talking about the process. So it is after training or Chankwanzi that now people come, and the Electoral Commission of the NRM is supposed to issue a call for interest of the position which are available in Parliament. Not only Speaker and Deputy Speaker, parliamentary commissioners they come up, committee chairpersons they come up. All these ones you have to wait. So you cannot tell me that you're endorsing people whose interests you have not had. How did you know? Because Parliament, the 12th Parliament, has its own life. You cannot tag the 11th Parliament to the 10th Parliament. That's why I'm a member of the 12th Parliament, and I was not in the 11th Parliament. You cannot carry on whatever was happening in the 11th Parliament to the 12th Parliament, because I am a member now of the 12th Parliament. So you cannot bring anything out of variance to the 12th Parliament. We have broken the Umbilical Code in May. We are breaking it. To the history of the Hansard and story, to the 11th Parliament, we begin a new life. That's why some of us can have nothing to do with the 11th Parliament, but we have everything to do with the 12th Parliament, with the manifesto, with the UN National Development Plan for NDP4, because there will be and for information, the 12th Parliament will have its new rules. The rules say every parliament must have its own rules of procedure. The standard one is to elect a speaker, deputy speaker, but going forward, Parliament elects its own rules of procedure. So I am trying to give you the procedure, I'm trying to give you the process, because I'm not only a candidate, that's my profession. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Uganda, I'm a lawyer, so I cannot imagine that you can come and play around with the rules when I am there. For the 12th Parliament, the 11th, I cannot speak for it. I was not there.
Have you gotten any indication from your political party that this position of speaker and deputy speaker are actually open for all people?
They are very open. When we began challenging what was in the social media, the director legal council Enoch Balata has issued a statement, an official statement as director. I can show you a copy. And also now Dombo said that the Honorable Dombo, who is the director of communication, said, what you've seen in the media is a hoax. He has just, he's been able to now make a disclaimer because he's the one who communicates. If he has disowned what was communicated, then who is the official spokesperson of the party? That's where we are now. But even me, I didn't believe it. But you know, we are in campaigns. People can use all sorts of things. This was supposed to discourage people want to contest. But we are alert. Some of us are ahead of many things. All right. So you cannot.
All right. No, listening.